In this video, we'll show you how to replace the oil pressure sensor on your Ford F-150. This is located in the engine bay and on the driver's side of the engine. Let's get started. We need to remove a bit of the intake piping here. We can use an 8mm. Loosen up the hose clamps. Just loosen those up enough that you can get movement. In order to gain access to our third hose clamp, we can detach both sides of the upper portion of the intake. You want to take that and just rotate it forwards. And that'll give us better access to our third hose clamp. And we can set this off to the side. With the vehicle raised and supported, we're working underneath the engine bay now. We have these small tabs. We're going to turn these 90 degrees, and those will drop down. We then have some more clips. We can come along with our pry tool. You can certainly use a flathead screwdriver for this. If you pull out on the panel with the clip can stay in the panel. At this point we have enough space. I'm just going to tuck this back to the side and let it hang. We're going to go ahead and drop the engine splash shield. We can remove the bolts with a 13mm. And we can drop the engine splash shield. Now we need to remove our intercooler hose that cross over to the driver's side of the vehicle. We just need to remove the lower side on the passenger side. We can do that with an 8mm. Get that moved off of there. To remove our other intercooler pipe on the driver's side of the vehicle, we'll be using a small pick. There's a metal ring. You just need to pick up on that ring. Start moving it outwards from the pipe. You can just move that down onto the intercooler itself and let that rest there, and push up on the intercooler piping. To gain better access, we'll go ahead and remove the oil cap. That way we can remove our engine cover. We'll set that off to the side. And don't forget to put your oil cap back on. Now coming in from the driver's side of the vehicle, we can bring our 8mm around the steering column to loosen the clamp on the hose going to the turbocharger. Now we have a plastic clamp holding that intercooler pipe on. We'll just pull up on that. Pull up on the intercooler hose. We can push that out of the way. Now coming in from the driver's side wheel well. Using an 8mm, we can loosen the other hose clamp, holding our other intercooler hose on to the turbocharger. We have one vacuum hose coming to one of our intercooler pipes coming off the driver's side. Press in on the tabs. Push the white connector out. We can pull that off. There's a breather hose running to the valve cover. There's a tab on the back side, so we can rotate that clockwise. And pull up. We can remove our recirc line. We just have a twisting connection. You want to twist that towards the back of the vehicle. We can pull that off. The intercooler pipe is held onto the engine with a grommet down below. So we can just pull up on the pipe. We can go ahead and set this bit of the intercooler piping off to the side. Now with access to our sensor, we can go ahead and remove the electrical connector. To undo the electrical connector, press in on the tab down at the base. You want to check the electrical connector for any corrosion or damage. This looks good. We can use a 21mm wrench to remove the sensor. We can snug this down. You don't want to over tighten it though. And we can reinstall our electrical connector. Make sure it's fully seated and doesn't pull back out. Now we can install our intercooler piping. Go ahead and hook up our breather line. Push that down and make sure it won't pull back off. And reinstall the breather line onto our first bit of intercooler here. Snap down the connection and make sure it won't pull off. Now we can go ahead and tighten down the hose clamps to the turbo. Coming down underneath the intake box, we have the recirculation line that goes to the intake. We're just going to push that on, make sure it's fully seated, and it's not going to pull back out. Now we can install the intercooler hose that goes to the throttle body. We can get our map sensor plugged back in. And we can get our breather hose line on. Make sure you push down the white tab and make sure it's fully seated. Now we can go ahead and tighten down the clamp for the throttle body. We can go ahead and close the clamp. We can go ahead and reinstall the upper portion of our intake. We can tighten those clamps down. To install our engine cover, we'll remove the oil cap. There's two tabs on the back side of the engine. Simply line those up. Make sure your oil fill neck is lined up. And reinstall your oil cap. Now with the vehicle raised and supported, we can go ahead and reinstall our intercooler piping. Slide the passenger side on and tighten down the clamp. Now we can set down the driver's side hose. Once you have that set down, go ahead and place your spring back in its groove. Work it around the backside until the ring is set. Now we can reinstall our splash shield. Now we can snug those down. Now we can go ahead and reinstall our radiator shroud. Simply push all of our little tree clips back up into their place. And then turn each of our 90-degree connectors.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.